I've been working on me, baby. There's so much trauma in my life. I've been so cold to the ones who love me, baby. I look back now and I realize. Remember when I held you? You begged me with your drowning eyes to stay. I regret I didn't take you. Now I can't keep you from loving him. You made up your mind. Say I love you, girl, but I'm out of time. Say I'm there for you, but I'm out of time. Say that I care for you, but I'm out of time. Said I'm too late to make you mine. Out of time. If you mess up just a little, baby, you know my line. If you don't trust him a little, then come right back, girl, come right back. Give me one chance, just a little. Baby, I'll treat you right. And I love you like I should have loved you all the time. Remember when I held you? You begged me with your drowning eyes to stay. I regret I didn't tell you. Now I can't keep you from loving him. You made up your mind. Say I love you, girl, but I'm out of time. Say I'm there for you, but I'm out of time. Say that I care for you, but I'm out of time. Said I'm too.
What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. It's Tuesday night, which means another fantasy football Q&A, this time heading into week 6 of the fantasy football season. So hopefully tonight we can answer all of those questions that you guys have going into this next week. Waiver wire questions, trade questions, start-sit questions if you're trying to get a jump on it early in the week. Still a lot of information to get. Obviously, tomorrow is the big day for injury reports and things like that, but we definitely got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Appreciate everybody who is in here early. As always, if you were Rob, Six Rings, a couple other people in here, appreciate you guys for being early. Means a lot. Like I said, this is basically Ask Me Anything here tonight. Now, obviously, you guys saw there on that little comment, if you want to skip the line at any point tonight, you feel like your question is a burning question, you need it answered, you cannot wait for me to get to the bottom when it is your turn. The best way to do that and skip that line is by Super Chat. Also, if you want to support this show, always you can use our promo code LeagueFFB over on Underdog. Right now, if you play $5 after using that code, they will give you $100 in bonus cash, and it is the perfect time to go over there and try it out if you have never tried it before, because in the month of October, it is actually Boost-tober for Underdog. So promos every single day in the app for you guys to take advantage of, hopefully win a ton of money here in October. And like I said, you can take advantage of all of that by using promo code LeagueFFB. So tons of questions here tonight. We will try and get to all of them as quickly as possible. But with all of that stuff being said, let's just hop into it and start answering your guys' questions. All right, so the first question I got here is from Rob. He says, how much fab should I spend on Flacco? Now, obviously, this is because Joe Flacco was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, an in-division trade from the Cleveland Browns. So he is likely going to be the starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals at some point in time. I don't know if it's this week. Still would probably be projecting Jake Browning. I think it's just a short leash now for Browning with Flacco in the building, but they addressed the quarterback room. It's not the one we wanted, but hey, it could be worse, I think, overall. The question of how much fab should you spend on Flacco? Not a lot. I'm not spending a lot. I don't think Flacco has a ton left in the tank. This is fine. You know, the weapons are appealing, but I don't see Flacco being anything more than a kind of low upside QB2. So if I had to give you a percentage, anywhere between 0 and 5% fab. If you're in a super flex league and you really need quarterback, maybe a little bit more, but it's going to be league dependent. For me, I'm not spending a ton because I don't think Flacco is really that guy. Six Ring says, yes, sir. Tingley says, hey, yo, appreciate you guys being here. Jeremy says, what is going on, Andrew? Do I start Matthew Stafford or Jaden Daniels? Appreciate you being here, Jeremy. I do have Jaden Daniels higher in my rankings this week. Jaden Daniels is actually my quarterback 2. on the week. He is a very, very highly regarded quarterback play for me this week against the Chicago Bears. They're currently ranked 28th, giving up 21.9 fantasy points per game to that position group at the quarterback position. So I'd be playing Jaden Daniels this week, certainly in my quarterback slot. Evan says, lost Hampton, James Conner, and Eckler this year. I need a running back. Do I pick up Kareem Hunt, Haskins, or Vidal? Or should I trade Travis Hunter for Michael Carter? My current running backs are Scat and Kendre in a half PPR. I'm assuming this is a redraft, Evan. I would be trying to pick up any of those running backs. I think you can definitely pick up any of them, Hunt, Haskins, or Vidal. I would probably have maybe Kareem Hunt at the top of the list. Vidal would be second. It's tough to tell what's going to happen with that backfield. I think Vidal's the most talented in that Chargers room, but it's not ideal. Would I trade Travis Hunter for Michael Carter? Probably not. But I would definitely be trying to go after those guys with Kareem Hunt at the top of the priority, followed by Vidal, followed by Haskins. If you're just looking for a swing, I would probably be going with Vidal, but Hunt is the safest floor. Is there a bit of hope now for the Bengals offense with Flacco taking over LMAO? I need Chase Brown to start paying off. More hope today maybe than before. I will say, you know, Chase Brown is the guy that I actually feel the best about. Funny enough, MK also says Chase Brown's about to be force fed. That's why, right? Like, you have a veteran quarterback here in Joe Flacco who can check the football down, is going to check the football down. The volume has been there for Chase Brown the entire year. He just hasn't had the efficiencies, the offensive efficiencies. So it should improve, hopefully. We'll see what happens, but a little bit more optimistic about Chase Brown today, a little bit more optimistic about all of the receiving options there with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase today than I was the other day. But still TBD for me, because I don't think Flacco's like this difference maker either for them. It would have been so much more fun, and obviously it's just a pipe dream, but to go get a guy like Jameis Winston would have been so much more fun for fantasy. Are we all in on JCM now? I got offered Lamar, Flowers, Rashi, JCM for my CMC McBride Dak. Lamar, Flowers, Rashi, and JCM. It's a pretty solid offer. CMC is the best player in the deal, followed by Lamar. I still think I go with the CMC McBride and Dak side of this deal, though. But JCM's looking like he's trending up. No problem, Jeremy. Juan says, who for my wide receiver 3, tight end, and flex spot? I got Devontae Adams and Quentin Johnston. They are my wide receivers 1 and 2. Nick Chubb, Krosky Merritt, Kenneth Gainwell, Zach Charbonnet, or Travion Henderson. Wide receivers here are going to be Hollywood, Jordan Addison, Debo. You guys can't see it. I see it all on the side of the screen. It's a long one. Debo, and then Juwan Johnson, David Njoku, Mason Taylor, Kyle Pitts. Says Kittle's on IR. Okay, so for your wide receiver 3, I like Debo as the wide receiver 3. For your tight end, I think I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts at the tight end. And then for your flex, I'm going to go Krosky Merritt. I think that's what I'm going to end up playing for you there, Juan. Roland, since Cincinnati should have traded for Winston, Flacco's going to be a 50-year-old statue back there. Yeah, that's the problem, is the offensive line is still not good, and he has no mobility. But we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping for a little bit more quick decision-making, offensive efficiency, and selfishly some more Chase Brown checkdowns, because I have him in a league that I care a lot about. So we'll see. Tips to spice up a work league. Currently a lot of inactive managers. Unfortunately, that's what happens with work leagues. People don't really care too much. It's like a social thing to do for people in a work league. Try and talk about it in the office. Try and talk about it at work. That would be the way that I would try and do it. Obviously, don't let it affect, your job, because I think that'll probably get you in trouble. But I would just try and talk about it at work. See if you can get people to have conversations about fantasy, and maybe it'll spice it up a tiny bit. MK says, I need a flex. Should I drop Calvin Austin for Torrey Horton? Yeah, probably. Nino says, also, is Coker, Haskins, Vidal, Taylor worth the number one priority in a 12-man league? Obviously depends on team needs, but any for sure, guys. I like Taylor the most out of all of those pickups. Mason Taylor's my favorite pickup of all of them. Vidal would be my second. Then it would probably be Haskins and then Coker. All of them are worthy of a pickup. Maybe not a number one. It's tough. I really don't like the Haskins-Vidal backfield combo. I think it's going to be messy, and it does sound like Hampton is just 4 weeks and then back, so it could be short-lived for either of them. When I'm looking at their matchups too, like the next upcoming 4 weeks for them is going to be, let's see. It's Miami, which is a good, interesting one this week. I think that's interesting for Vidal. You got Indy next week, the Vikings the week after that. I don't know. And then Tennessee's a good one, but who knows, man. I'm not super confident in those guys as like these are the league winners. Because once Hampton's healthy and back, it's back to the bench for both of them. Evan says, also, I got a trade offer for Rashee Rice. It was JMO and Pollard for Rice. Is it worth moving Rice? My other wide receivers are Jettas, DK, Hunter, Franklin, and Trey Tucker. No, that is not worth moving for Rice. I think Rice is going to be a top 12 wide receiver pretty much weekly by the time he's in the lineup here in just a week or two. Let's see. Rob says, what do I do if I'm 1-4 besides hope for the best? 12-team keeper. I mean, you got to identify in a keeper league where, you know, it's still a modified redraft. You got to keep a couple guys each year, but you got to make some moves. Like, obviously 1-4, identify the roster, see, you know, who's been underperforming because of opportunities and who has been underperforming because of lack of talent or things like that. Like, that's probably where I would be trying to identify where you need to make moves and then go from there. But obviously you probably kind of at this point, 1-4, you got to start making some moves. Who's the best waiver wire tight end in your opinion from guys like Taylor, Barner, Theo Johnson, etc.? Taylor is in a league of his own right now, I think, at the tight end position. The volume's crazy. The volume's insane. He's a very talented prospect coming out of LSU. I think rightfully so, a day 2 tight end. Theo Johnson would be my second guy, but Taylor's must-add type of tight end if you can get him. XRP says 10-man league. I have JD5 and May. I don't like rostering 2 QBs in a 10-man league, but May plays Cincy on JD5's bye week in week 12. Is it worth stashing May all the way to week 12? Here's the way that I would look at it. I kind of agree with you. In a 10-man, 1 QB league, I don't really want to roster 2 guys. I'm not holding a player for a month and a half of my season to get 1 week out of him, maybe. Because there's a chance, you know, there's always a chance that you hold him for 7 weeks or 6 weeks and then May gets hurt, you know, the week before you need him. So I'm playing JD5, and I'll pick up and stream a guy when we get there. What do you recommend as commissioner if teams are having players in their starting lineup be labeled as out? We have 5 bench spots in a home league. I mean, we kind of have like a no tolerance type of deal in my league. Like, if you're serious about playing fantasy, you shouldn't be having out players. I will say, you know, Sleeper, if you play on Sleeper, they have a feature that is a auto sub feature. Strongly recommend it if you've had people that are struggling with that or waking up early for the, you know, London games and things like that. Turn the auto sub feature on. If you have the auto sub feature on and people are still out, that's just lack of care, lack of laziness, and those people probably shouldn't be in your league moving forward. So we kind of have a no tolerance. 1 time, kind of a slap on the wrist. Hey, don't do it again. 2-3 times in your league, like, get out. Sorry. I want to play against serious people. This ain't fun. What should I target to pivot off of Brian Thomas Jr.? Let's pull up Fantasy Calc, man. I want to pull up Fantasy Calc and see where he's at. And I'll give you some names that are in his price range currently on that website that we can maybe pivot off of. So right now on Fantasy Calc, he is the wide receiver 15. Still feels pretty high for him. Cortland Sutton is a good pivot. If you can go to Cortland Sutton, that would be good. Devonta Adams is a good pivot if you can get to him. Rashee Rice is still a good pivot if you can get to him and buy one more bye week. It might be a little bit too late to pivot that way, though. DK Metcalf is interesting, and I think Tet McMillan and Jalen Waddle are probably two interesting options. Those are all names around that price range that he's at that I think are interesting to pivot off of. Some of them you may have to throw a tiny bit on top. Some you may be able to get something coming back, but those would be some names that I like there for you to pivot off of BTJ. Juan says, who would you drop for Juwan Johnson? Waiver wire is Tongas, Mason Taylor, Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, or Dalton Schultz. I would drop Juwan Johnson for Pitts, and then Mason Taylor would be the top two for me. Either of them. 12-man redraft, half PPR, 2 flex, wide receiver, running back, and tight end. You need May, Bijan, Gentieg, Buka, Jason, Juwan Johnson, Bill, Dowdle. The bench is Fields, DeMercado, Tootin, Golden. What's the question here? I think the question is like, who would you drop for Tyrone Tracy? I think that's more the question that we're asking here. If I have to drop somebody for Tyrone Tracy, it's probably DeMercado. Drop DeMercado. We got a super chat here from Juan. Juan says, who is worth a pickup? Ryan Flournoy, Justice Hill, or Kendrick Bourne? I would have it ranked Bourne, Flournoy, and Hill in that order, but Bourne would be the guy. The only problem with all of these guys is they're dependent on injury in front of them, and if some of these guys get healthy, we get injury reports that they're healthy tomorrow, they might not be worth a ton. So you can pick them up, but I wouldn't spend a ton of fab. I wouldn't burn an early priority on them because there's risk with them as pickups. So that's how I would order that one. Thank you, Juan, for the super chat. Appreciate you. What do we got here for Reynaldo? Says dropping Juwan Johnson for Theo Johnson, Mason Taylor, Kyle Pitts. Thanks. Yep, dropping him for any of them, actually, and I would order it Kyle Pitts, Mason Taylor, Theo Johnson. Should I panic about Woody Marks? No, I'm not panicking over Woody Marks. Bad games happen. Anthony says, who should I target to pivot off of Brian Thomas Jr.? I think we just answered this one, right? Yeah, we did answer that one. Trap Nation says, who you trying to trade Trey Henderson for? I have an offer for Golden and 15 fab. Not doing that. I would much rather have Trey Henderson in this situation. If I'm getting rid of Trey Henderson, the short answer is I'm not getting rid of Travion Henderson. To be honest, I just made him a buy last week in one of our videos. I think he's a player that I definitely want moving into the back half of the season. But if you're moving off of him, I'd be okay trying to move him for maybe a Terry McLaurin, maybe a Mike Evans. But the reality is his value is so suppressed, I'm not moving him. So I guess the short answer, and it's not necessarily your question, I'm not trading Trey Harrison at the moment. Marine with the super chat, appreciate you. Says 12 team PPR Superflex. Would you trade Achane and Laporta for Judkins, Kincaid, and Devontae Adams? That's a solid offer. I think I would take the Judkins, Kincaid, and Adams side of the deal. So I think I am going to take it. But Achane and Laporta is definitely intriguing. But Adams, being able to plug him in, I think he's like this low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 most weeks. So I think that's definitely a good enough piece to add. Slapsky says, do I drop Tootin to get a Tracy? No, I would not drop Tootin. I would drop DeMercado for Tracy. I don't think DeMercado's that guy. Traded Neighbors away on my second dynasty team this morning. I sent Neighbors Pearsall a 26 and 27 third. Got back a Buka, Mason Taylor, Cam Scatterbo, and a 27 first that's projected early. What are your thoughts on this move? It's interesting. I think you could definitely make the argument right now that we've seen the elite upside of Neighbors, but the Igbuka in the first is nice. That's nice to get that, and I think I'd take the early first in Igbuka over Neighbors right now. Pearsall, probably somewhat equal to Scattaboo, and then it's just Mason Taylor for the 2/3. I love it. I think it's a good deal for you. That's better than a lot of the Malik Neighbors trades I've seen, because quite a few of these Malik Neighbors trades I've seen that have been on the Dynasty Trade Shows, submitted in our Discord. I think a lot of these Malik Neighbors trades are a little, you know what I mean? They ain't good. People are selling low. Where are we at? What was your greatest hot take this year that worked out? It's a good question. I'd honestly have to like look back and see a couple of some of my calls. I was pretty early in on JCM, Bill Krosky Merritt, before it was cool to be on Bill Krosky. I think that was one that I will give myself credit for. I mentioned on a Dynasty Hot Takes episode, I think we still need time for this to age, but I mentioned on a Dynasty Hot Takes episode with D-Bro early this offseason that I liked Jackson Dart as the potential QB1 of this class down the road over Cam Ward, who was drafted obviously as the 101. That one's looking pretty decent. There's a couple of them. I was in on Igbuka. I don't know. There's a couple hot takes. I'm trying to think of like one specifically, but I can't really think of like a specific one. I guess the hottest it takes is probably Dart over Ward, and so far so good. But like I said, I think we still need a little bit of time. Roland says injuries have been brutal on that team. Neighbors, CD Hampton, Purdy, Pearsall. Yeah, that's a lot, man. Robert says, what would you need on top of Achane to move Neighbors? 12-team Superflex, half-point tight end premium. Currently have London, Neighbors, Tet, Pickens, Pittman, Moore. Achane owner has Addison, Olave, Ricky P. What would you need on top of Achane to move Neighbors? Something pretty significant. At least Addison, but I don't even think I'm doing it. That's him or Olave would be the best assets, but I'm not even doing that. So honestly, Neighbors for Achane and Addison would be my offer, but I would still like the Neighbors side long term in a dynasty. Stafford or Darnold this week? Let's see. I have Stafford higher than Darnold in my rankings. Andrew, what are your thoughts on this trade? I acquired Hurts and trade away Goff in a 2026 first, 26 second. Superflex, full PPR, 8-team. My QBs are now Lamar, Hurts, and Herbert. Solid. I don't think you need that many QBs like that in an 8-team league. I mean, in an 8-team league, you're always going to want to consolidate and try and get to superstar players. But Herbert feels like an unnecessary luxury right now at QB. So it's a good trade. I think it's a fine trade for you. But I don't think you need that many QBs. I'm almost done with Scary Terry and maybe Ladd in redraft. I'm more done with Terry than I am Ladd, but I kind of agree with you. It's not looking great. Planning on picking up Mason Taylor. Should I drop Ertz or keep him and drop DeMercado instead? Probably going to drop DeMercado. It looks like he's not going to be given any bigger of a workload, and I think after what happened, with the fumble, he's definitely not going to get it. So probably more Michael Carter until Benson's back in the lineup. Do I drop Slayton and Jawan for Mason Taylor and Haskins? I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm definitely okay with it. Also stash 3 of these players: Brashard, Davis, Algier, Iomanner. Davis would be the one I'm not stashing. So Smith, Algier, and Iomanner I'd have over Davis. Hey, I've got a trade opportunity in PPR redraft. David Montgomery and Myers for Kamara and Cup. Would you do it? No way. I think I'm just going to take Demon and Myers here. My bad, Andrew. That BTJ pivot question was for Dynasty. Okay, all right. That's a lot different there, Anthony, and I'm glad you clarified. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. and Diggs a good move or shoot upward for London? I would like trying to tier upward. I think if you have to throw extra on top, that's fine, but I'd be trying to get up into a London, trying to get to an Ibuka, trying to get to a T-Mac or something like that. That's probably where I'd be going. Flex K-Dot and Booty or Horton. This is down bad week for Alex. Horton is probably the play, though. What up, big dog? What up to you, man? Slavsky says, more context, my bad. Already dropping DeMercado for Theo, AJ Barnard, Tongas. Okay. Then I would probably drop... Honestly, I'm probably just dropping Bourne for Tracy. Because I don't think Bourne's like a long-term answer at all. What's your take on Taysom Hill? Is he startable in any scenario? Maybe. It's a tight end, so, you know, at the tight end position, it can get crazy. It can get a little bit inconsistent. Rumor has it he was listed as the QB2 behind Rattler over Tyler Shuck. So, you know, if they use him as like a quarterback and you're getting to play him in your tight end position, it's sneaky. So, yeah, he's startable in some scenarios, but until we see a little bit more usage, obviously he was fresh off the pup, but until we see some more, probably just best left on your bench. But he's intriguing as a pickup if you need some, you know, you need to take a moonshot at the tight end position for sure. Yo, I was 2 Marvin Harrison Jr. yards away from turning $5 into $6.60 with JSN, Chase, and Marvin Harrison Jr. 100 yards last week. That's very unfortunate. And actually, that's probably so frustrating because he got a lot of that early and they went away from him for whatever reason. I think Drew Petzing is just an idiot, and that's just the only scenario that I can give you for why that happened. But I'm sorry to hear that, dude. John says, what's up, dude? Trade Mahomes, Chuba, and Rico to receive JD5 and Brees. Yep, I'd do it. I would take JD5 and Brees. Do you think there's still hope for Chase Brown with Flacco there now? I feel more optimistic today than I did the other day. Still TBD with him, but a little bit more today than I was, you know, previously. That Jaguars and Chiefs game was fun last night. Dude, it was chaotic. And honestly, probably the ugliest, grossest game-winning play I've ever seen from anybody in my life. Trevor Lawrence, congratulations, you won, but holy hell, that was so ugly. But it worked. So what can you say? You can't really say too much, I guess. But god damn, that was horrible. But all right, folks, we are caught up. We're down below, caught up in chat. Usually that's how this happens, man. We're about halfway through, so we got about, let's say 25, 30 more minutes to go to answer your questions. So if you still have questions, please throw them in the chat. Would love to answer everything that you got here tonight as we head into week 6 of the fantasy football season. We are going to have another stream like this on Friday, so if you have things between now and then, you can definitely have those questions answered on Friday as well. But obviously we have a Thursday night football game. Waivers are going to run tonight for most people, or tomorrow morning for most people. So we want to make sure that we get all of that handled here today and go from there. So go ahead and keep dropping those questions in the chat. I will tell you too, though, if you want to support this show, you want to support me, you want to support this channel, the best way to do that is by always going over to Underdog Fantasy. If you've never signed up, new customers only who use promo code LEAGUEFFB and they play $5, they will get $100 in bonus cash. So you play $5 in the app, we're giving you $100 immediately off the rip, and it is Boosttober over on Underdog. So you're going to get promos every single day throughout the month of October to help you hopefully win some more money, or have a better chance at winning some money this month here during Boosttober. So like I said, if you want to support the show, best way to do it is promo code LEAGUEFFB on Underdog. And if you don't want to do that, that is no sweat at all. The best free way to support this channel is always hitting that like button. So if you haven't done that for me, please go do that. Appreciate you kindly. And let's go to Will. Will says, 12-team Superflex Dynasty League. How valuable do you see having 3 starting QBs? I think it's valuable. I tend to like to have like 2 guys that I'm pretty supremely confident in. And then I would say my third guy I always kind of have as like a dart throw or like an older veteran guy. So like an example of what this would be like one of my leagues, I have Josh Allen, I have Mahomes, and I have Jackson Dart, who I got in my rookie draft. That worked out well. Another league, I have Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott. So like the cheaper veterans that I got there. So that's kind of like what I do. I try and have 3 guys, but I like to kind of keep one of them a budget option. So I'm not breaking the bank on a third QB, you know? Matthew Stafford would be a great third QB at the moment. Dixon says Chris Jones is a literal cone on that final play. Bro does not care. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. I don't know. I have no explanation for that. Sean says Chase Brown, Devonta Smith, or Dowdle for the flex. As long as Chuba's out, it's got to be Dowdle. Dowdle's the play if Chuba's out. Yo, I'm 2-3, and I got Bijan, KW3, Brees, and Scat. But Johnson is tight end. Trade KW3 for Kittle. I don't mind that trade. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I might float it. I'd try and get Kittle in a little more. See if you can get something else thrown in. John says, this week, who would you start? Garrett Wilson against Denver or J-Mo versus Kansas City? For me, they're not even close in my rankings. Right now, I have Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 10, and Jamison Williams is my wide receiver 33. So they're not even close for me in my rankings. Do you have May starting? Or I have May starting and Fields on the bench. Do I drop Fields for Stafford? No way. I would keep Fields there. He's just way more fantasy friendly. Dixon says, would you hold Chuba in Dynasty or try to trade him to the Dowdle owner for picks, a player back, running backs with Chase Brown, Brees Hall, Scattaboo, and some nobody handcuffs? Currently 4-1. So he is, and so is he. I would still hold him. I think it's his backfield when he comes back, but yeah, I'm not selling yet. Will says, somebody dropped AJ Barner in my Dynasty, not deep at tight end and running back. Do I prioritize Haskins/Vidal or Barner with the fab? Also, how much fab would you give, I'm assuming? Excuse me. I would probably go Vidal over Barner with the fab. How much fab do I want to spend in a Dynasty? I'm just not burning a ton. I'm not burning a ton. I don't like either of these guys as fill-in options for the most part. I guess Vidal in a Dynasty league, like I'm willing to go 30%, 40% in a Dynasty just to get a couple starts if I think I can plug him into my lineup. But if it's a Dynasty league and I'm like, all right, I can add Vidal, but I'm not going to have him in my lineup, or I'm not, I'm going to be maybe benching him 2 of the 4 weeks that he's a starter. Fuck that. Like, don't pick him up. It's whatever. So you kind of got to play that game with yourself and see what the situation is going to be for you. Sean says, what do you think Chase Brown's upside is now that Flacco's there? Do you see him going up? Yeah, a lot of people are asking about Chase Brown tonight. I think Chase Brown's a player I feel better about today than I did the other day. Better opportunities for some check downs. The offensive line is still bad. We need some more touchdown opportunities. Hopefully those things come his way. But if anything, at least hopefully some more PPR points coming his way. Tingley says, drop DeMercado. Got it. Could you rank these guys on the waiver wire you drop Ertz for? Ridley, Bourne, the Chargers running backs, Dobbs, Hunt, Algier, Theo. Just wondering if he's worth rostering 2 tight ends. I drop Ertz for Ridley. Probably be okay dropping him for Dobbs as well. The other guys, not so much. Maybe Vidal. But I think I'd probably drop him for one of those 3. Excuse me. It's going to be Ridley, Dobbs, or Vidal. I have McBride and Warren. Hampton is now on IR, and my top running backs are Cook, JCM, and Dowdle. Should I trade one for a running back? No tight end premium, and realistically, what could I get? Yes, you should be trading one of these guys, I think, for a running back. In a redraft league, no tight end premium. If you're moving a guy, it's going to be Tyler Warren. I'm going to keep Trey McBride. I would move Tyler Warren. You might be able to get a J.K. Dobbins, maybe a T-Mac, maybe a Debo, Jalen Waddle maybe. I think those would be the options that I would look at. Maybe Scattaboo. Obviously, I think you said you're trying to get a running back, so I just listed some guys that aren't. Dobbins, Scattaboo, Kamara, maybe Chuba, buy low on Chuba, potentially, since you already have Dowdle. That would be what I'd be trying to do. I did this trade in redraft, PPR, JCM, and Pickens for Olave and Hampton. I've been trying to buy low on Hampton with his injury, and his last 4 weeks are a cakewalk. 10 team, by the way. I like that move for you. I do. I think if Hampton comes back, he's healthy, you're going to be fine. PBR, how do you feel about Derrick Henry and Kamara? I was wondering if they'd be worth targeting for trades to level up at running back since their owner is 1-4. My running backs now are Achane, Chase Brown, Dobbins, White, and Swift. I think I like Derrick Henry more than I like Kamara. Kamara gets intriguing if you think he gets traded to a contender, but I think Derrick Henry is a safer play. I don't mind either of those guys as level ups, though. If it were me, I'd be trying to like level up the J.K. Dobbins. Can I move Dobbins into a Derrick Henry? That's probably what I'd be trying to do. It's Dynasty, and I am 3-2. I'm most likely okay if Hampton comes back, but been thinking of having both McBride and Warren in non-tight end premium worth it. Yeah, if it's a Dynasty, that makes the trade market different. But I'd probably still sell Warren. But in a Dynasty, you could probably get more for Warren than that. So I think I'm still okay with you selling the tight end, especially since it's not tight end premium. Trap says, don't roast me too bad, but I traded Chase Brown and Ricky for DK and Tootin. I don't think it's horrible. I think this is probably before Flacco gets into town, right? But I don't think it's horrible. He says I'm the ETN owner. Yeah, it is what it is. DK's the best player in that deal. Slap says, do I start Juwan or one of these three? Barner, Theo, Tongas. I would go with Theo over all of them. Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you too, man. You also have a blessed week, and thank you for being here always and asking questions, man. It means a lot. I'm sure I will see you shortly. Kanan says, should I play Darnold or Caleb Williams? I have JSN for the Darnold stack. Interesting. I do have Caleb Williams higher than Darnold. Caleb Williams is a top 12 play for me this week against Washington, so he would be the play for me. It's nice to have the stack, but I'm not forcing it into my lineup if I don't have to. 4-1, and I'm the defending champ in one of my dynasties. I got Saquon, Achane, Hampton, Spears at running back. Would you try and move Saquon now or play the season out and make an off-season move? I know the time is near. I'm okay with you making the move now. If you want to, I think maybe a very savvy type of move that you might be able to make happen. Buy on the negative news of Trevion Henderson and sell Saquon for Hendo Plus. I think people will really bite on that. And I think you can get some extra, and you have the luxury of being able to wait because you have Achane and Hampton coming back from injury here shortly. It's probably about 4 weeks from now, so I think you should be fine in the meantime, and I think that's a savvy move. Juwan, Kelsey, or Cole Kmet? Not Cole Kmet. For certain, not Cole Kmet. I think Kelsey's the play, though. I got Kelsey as a top 5 play this week against Detroit. He would be the play. I had a league mate today seriously try and tell me that I was crazy for not thinking that me trading Judkins in London for Javonte Williams and Hollywood Brown was a championship move. Hey, it's that time of the year. People get desperate. People want you to accept their trades. Is what it is, I guess. People, they want to make moves. And if you don't make moves, you're the problem, not them. A-Rod says, I'm 5-0 with the most points scored in my league. I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, buddy. I'm hoping Henderson finally gets work. He's so talented, and Ramondre is a fumble machine. You and me both, brother. I think Henderson is so talented as well. He's got these Lamborghini-like qualities, just a missile when he has a football in his hands, just lightning quick. But I just think that this is a guy that, for whatever reason, Mike Vrabel is stuck in the old school wannabe Bill Belichick old-ass mentality of the rookies got to wait their time. They got to wait their turn. Fuck that. Play your best goddamn players, because it's not Ramondre Stevenson. It's not Antonio Gibson. So get TreVeyon Henderson on the damn football field and let's see what happens, because I bet your offense looks better when you put the football in his hands. But what do I know? I don't know. I'm just a guy that talks about fantasy football. So you got it, Mike Vrabel. Kanan says, do you think Judkins and Monty for Henry is a good trade? I think I'd rather have Judkins and Monty. Is Bourne cooked now that Pearsall and Jennings might play? Well, yeah. If Pearsall and Jennings play, Bourne is nothing. He's a fill-in while those guys are hurt, but when they're healthy, I'm not interested in Bourne. He's waiver wire fodder. Henderson owner is 1-4. Has Javonte Williams, could probably do a 2-for-1, or should more be added to either side? I think Dallas extends Williams. That's an interesting move, and you could probably get a pretty significant plus on the Javonte Williams side. Although, I do think with you being a champ, or a defending champ here, I would rather just have Saquon in the lineup than Javonte plus. So maybe I wouldn't try and galaxy brain it too much. It's got to be the right move to move off of Saquon, probably for a young back, but if not, I think I'd rather just keep Saquon in the lineup for now. How would you feel about me trading Nico for Henderson and Golden in Dynasty? I'm a contender. I don't think I want it. I think Nico's the best player in the deal. I'm not very high on Matthew Golden. I just don't think he's that talented. And I've got a lot of flack for it this offseason when I said it on multiple occasions. But I just don't love what I see out of Matthew Golden. I do like what I see out of Henderson, but Nico's the best player in that deal. And if you're a contender, just play Nico, dude. Any favorite buy lows in Dynasty? Wondering about second and third year guys who have disappointed. Think my league highly values rookies. We talked about some players to potentially buy today on the Dynasty Nerds channel. Some names that were thrown out were Jared Goff was a good buy. Josh Jacobs is a good buy. Garrett Wilson's a good buy. Potentially, if you, are sitting on a extra early first in 2026, I'd be selling an early first for Garrett Wilson. Maybe some others. I have a list, actually. Here you go. This is for a video that I'm working on right now. I would sell an early second if you could. These are based off the KTC values. That's what the video is about, but I figure this is applicable for this question. I'd sell an early second for Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, David Montgomery, or TJ Hawkinson. I would sell a mid-second for Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, or Mason Taylor. And I would sell a late second for Jaden Higgins or Torrey Horton. So that's just based off the second round picks, but there's a lot of names for you to think about at the moment. But we're going to definitely be doing on Thursday this week on the channel, we're dropping a Dynasty Buys video. So I'll have more names for you then too, Will. How long do you think Bucky is out? Is White the move? Yeah, White is definitely the move while he's out, but I don't know. Bucky's not on IR, so it could be just, another 1 or 2 weeks is all. Would you trade Kenneth Walker, Judkins, Scary Terry for CMC Odunze, given CMC's injury history? Would you trade Kenneth Walker? Yeah, I would rather have CMC and Odunze here. By a long shot. Do you start May or Allen? It's Josh Allen. We're not playing with that bench Josh Allen shit. not for a second. Charlie says, yo, in Dynasty, would you trade away Harvey for Bond in an early 26 third? Nope. I would still have RJ Harvey. Will says, dude, thanks. I love the names and looking forward to that video. Yeah, man, like I said, no problem. I mean, we were kind of researching and doing some of these videos already anyways, but those are just the names that I have there off the top of the head. And like I said, that video will be out on Thursday, so keep an eye out. How much work do you think Aaron Jones will get when he comes back? A good split. It's going to be a good split, at least 40% of the work. I think he's going to be third downs, passing down situations as a better pass blocker. I think he's potentially going to be the guy, getting a lot of the receiving work out of the backfield on, long third downs and things like that. So probably about 40%. Jordan Mason's got to get that fumbling shit out of his system too, man, because he's been fumbling the ball a lot in these last 2 weeks. Not as much as Stevenson, but he's had some fumbling issues too. I feel like every game I'm turning it on and Mason is putting something on the ground. All right, we are caught up. At about 47-ish minutes that we've been live, I think. So let's throw a last call in here. I want to go for about 10 more minutes, but let's say last call. Let's get those final questions in here. For everybody that's been in, if you still have fantasy questions, or if you're just watching and you don't have any more fantasy questions, do you have other questions you want to ask me, whatever, go ahead and go for it. We can sit here and chat for another 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna wrap it up and then get on with my evening. But appreciate everybody who's been in here so far, hanging out with me, talking, whatever. Means a lot. But let's see what you guys got for the last 10 minutes here. Trick says Mason's stock down. I'm here for it. Look, I don't know if we gotta, celebrate the stock down, but I think this backfield is better as a committee. It might be a little bit more efficient that way. What was your favorite game of the week besides the Vikings game? I mean, look, the Vikings game wasn't, super exciting anyways. It was a kind of an ugly game. That Seahawks Bucks game was very fun though. I think that was an awesome game. Definitely a game. Especially you saw some of the stuff come out. I don't know if anybody else saw it. People had to have seen it. But apparently there was some Seahawks fans talking shit to Baker in the pregame, and Baker was talking trash, and he said, I'll come see you at halftime. And then after the game, he came back to see him after they won. I love Baker Mayfield, man. Kid's a dog. I say kid's a dog. He's older than me. Dude's a dog. But yeah, man, I love it. In redraft on Saturday, I traded Derrick Henry and Mason for Addison, London, and Swift. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'd probably feel pretty good about that too. I like London. He's the best player in that deal to me. Addison is looking pretty solid, and Swift is fine too. So definitely like that deal for you. Egbuka for Neighbors, PPR Dynasty. It's very interesting, very interesting. I'm still Neighbors over Egbuka in Dynasty, but it's getting much closer than people want to admit. Haskins or Vidal, I lost Amarion. I would have it Kamani Vidal over Haskins. Trap says much love to you too, man. Appreciate you. Smitty says this is a two QB league. I have Rashad White and am the guy that has Bucky. Needs a running back in QB. His QB is Rodgers. I'm going to offer Rattler, Henderson, and Marks for Bucky. Would that work? I mean, I don't think Rattler's an upgrade to what he has with Rodgers. I don't think it works, honestly. You got to offer more than that. You got to come correct. I wish my Seahawks won that one. Those fans sold for us. Dude, if there's anybody in the NFL, if you followed Baker Mayfield, you saw him at college at Oklahoma, if you followed him anywhere, you do not get this man riled up. You say shit to him before the game. You don't shake his hand. You want to plant your flags. You want to do whatever. Don't get Baker riled up, because he is a guy that is looking for reasons to have extra motivation. And when you give it to him, he just plays better. He's going to make sure that he cooks you. So, not ideal. Would you be willing to move Achane for Judkins plus? League is full PPR. Honestly, I'm just looking at all options if a move is worth it or not. Yeah, I mean, Dynasty, I'm absolutely willing to move HN for Judkins plus. It depends on what the plus is, but I'd be down for it. Do you think Henry is cooked? I've been trying to buy him while prices are down, but I'm not sure he's even worth buying on the low at this point. He's intriguing, and maybe not even in the best ways possible, but I think it's just interesting because Derrick Henry's been a guy that we've all, for years and years and years, said that running back age cliff's going to come eventually. And I don't know if it's actually hit. He's got a really tough matchup this week. Los Angeles is the #1 run defense. The Rams are the #1 run defense. So this is a very bad matchup for him. I have him as my 23rd overall running back in my PPR rankings. Then he has a bye week. When he comes out of that bye week, he has Chicago, Miami, and some really good run matchups. So you could buy low now, but it's a gamble. You could let him really stink up the joint this week, maybe potentially against the Rams, and then buy him going into the bye week as well. I don't know. It's a very interesting question, but I think there's an argument for buying it at the price. No problem, Charlie. I appreciate you as well. Trick says Daniel Jones, Caleb Williams, or Kyler Murray. I have Caleb Williams the highest in my rankings. Caleb is 11, Daniel Jones is 12, and Kyler is 19. I got Sutton for Scattaboo today. Which two do I start this week out of Sutton, BTJ, Flowers, and Keenan Allen? I'm assuming that's Keenan Allen, but that's a good trade for you. I like getting Sutton. I would play Sutton, and I would play. I think I'm gonna go Keenan, Sutton, and Keenan. Really, Rodgers hasn't been scoring any point in our league. His projected has 60 to 65 points. Other than game 1, he's been scoring in the 50s. That's crazy. I mean, scoring 50 points in your fantasy league is kind of insane. Would you trade Scattaboo even with Tracy coming back? Tracy, I will say, I'm going to say this, and the Scatterbros are going to be upset. By the way, I'm a Scatterbro because I have him on a fantasy team right now too, but there's a little worry, a tiny, tiny bit of worry here that just a small minor amount of the receiving work that Scattaboo has been seeing goes back to Tyrone Tracy when he's healthy, and that would really bum me out for fantasy. So there is minor concern there. Jerome says, I received an orphan team in a dynasty league that has been going for 7 years. I need to do a full rebuild. Any advice? Trust the process. It sounds so simple, sounds so easy, but trust the process. Focus on your rebuild in about a 2 to 3 year window. This year, the first year that you have taken over this team, tear down, liquefy assets, keep young studs, cornerstones, be willing to down tier, be willing to add ammunition to the stockpile to hold, but make sure it's ammunition that's not scoring points for you, because you want to improve that draft pick that you have, assuming that you have it. But acquire ammunition, tear down. Next year, start building the foundation, and probably the year after is when you're going to be finishing the rebuild. So look at it in a 2 to 3 year project. The first year, right now, right away, is you're just trying to get liquid. But if you view it that way and you follow the plan, don't rush your way back. You may notice next year you score some points. You may notice something happens and you get excited. Don't push the chips in early. When you do that, you mess up a rebuild. So pick a year. Maybe it's 2027. Maybe it's 2028 that you're like, this is the year I really want to be competitive and ready to go. And play until that season, stocking ammunition, putting it in the stockpile, and then be ready to go when that time comes. So hopefully that is helpful to you. Hopefully it is. Is there any bit in you that thinks selling high on Igbuka in a redraft after his performance against the Seahawks JV secondary is a move? If so, what compensation would you need? No, I'm not selling him anywhere that I have him. I've seen that floated around where people are like, sell high on Emeka Igbuka. No thanks. I'm just going to keep having those points in my lineup. What's up, man? Woody and Ertz burned me bad this week. Now sitting 1-4. LOL. Any recommendations on how much fab you'd be willing to give for the Green Bay defense and Mason Taylor? You're 1-4. It sounds like it's a little bit of bad luck. I'm not, burning it all on Mason Taylor and the Green Bay defense. Mason Taylor, I'd say like 15% of the fab. Green Bay's defense, maybe 5 to 10%. But that's about what I'm looking at. So total, what I would spend of your remaining fab is about 25% on these guys. Trick says, appreciate you. And Insidious says, who's winning the World Series, Andrew? I'll be honest with you. I am not a baseball guy by any means. And I even have to Google who is in the World Series right now. That's how much I'm not watching. I know for certain... maybe I don't even know for certain. I was out with my wife the other day. The Yankees were on. I thought they were in it. Bro, I'm not a baseball guy. I'm sorry. I apologize. Johnny, you got in here at the very last minute. This is the last question I'm going to answer. But he says his down's cooked. He's only playing 50% of the snaps this year. I don't think he's cooked. He worked his way back from injury. I think Tyler Warren's been a nuisance that we didn't necessarily see affecting downs. Maybe a bounce back from Pittman we didn't necessarily see. But I think Downs is still a player that I'd be interested in buying low on. I'm just going to bet on the talent and maybe not what we're seeing immediately right now on the football field. Insidious says you don't got to be. You just know that the Mariners are going to win. All right, man. I'll root for the Mariners for you specifically, Insidious, because I have no dog in this fight. But there you go, guys. That is everything tonight. About an hour answering your guys' questions. Insidious is already out. He's saying see you next time. So we are going to head on out of here. Appreciate everybody who's been here. If you haven't already, please do me the favor. We're at like 22 likes right now. If you haven't clicked that like button, go hit that like button. I'd like to see that hit to 25 before we wrap this up. Also, just to let you guys know, my official rankings, they always come out every Wednesday. So we do these live streams on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is the next update where you guys are going to be able to see my rankings in 2 different YouTube videos. One of them is going to be a running back. One of them is going to be a wide receiver. And then obviously on Fridays is another opportunity for you to get some more updated rankings. At this point in the year, this time of the year, we always have a ton of injuries. It feels like right now we are plagued by injury in the fantasy football space. Bye weeks, are going to start running rampant here. The bye-apocalypse is on the horizon. So make sure you guys are tapped in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That's a long way of saying that. But lots of new information all the time. And I promise I'm doing my best to give you the best that I got when it comes to getting you that advice and getting you the information and stuff you need to hopefully win your fantasy football leagues. So make sure you hit the like button if you want to support. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and go join our free Discord. But with all that being said, I have nothing else for you guys today. So I'll see you on the next one. Till then, peace out.